there, Alaji Yabagi Sani and Mr. Cletus Obon. Let's make a sense of the policies that are being made so far, the lockdown policies, and what the government has done so far. We've heard from the presidency listed 50 things or more that the president had done over this COVID-19. Give me a sense of what you think, Alaji Yabagi Sani, in terms of what the federal government has put in place and what you think that is being done so far.
Well, thank you, Sean. The federal government has done quite commendable, efforts in terms of what has been put in place for now. But like we know, we have some fundamental issues that should be addressed. And that is the issue of the microeconomy itself, because where will the money come from? These monies that we want to give to people. If your source of income, which is largely oil today, is being threatened, in a dramatic way, because today we know that the budget itself cannot be sustained anymore, and it's going down, by the day. So my worries are that what is the government doing in terms of exploring other avenues of attracting money, which I think the international community is trying to put together, so that going forward we'll be able to sustain some of these things until the pandemic is over. Yes, the palliatives are in order, but the mode of distributing the money is also something that I think government also needs to be careful, because Nigerians, especially some of the government officials, were not as one would have expected us to be when the need arises, like people to apply themselves and then be above board. So government should take a very critical look at those who are distributing this money and ensure that this money gets to where it's supposed to go to. I'm talking about the rural areas, for instance. Yes, we're talking about Abuja for now, but this pandemic has just started. The number is getting higher and higher by the day. It's not that the thing is decreasing. We have not even reached the peak yet. We are still behind the curve. And given our own situation in terms of the medical facilities that we have, I'm talking about healthcare delivery system we have, which is very weak, and the fact that I have not heard about the government talking about testing facilities, because this is the crucial aspect of the whole thing. We must be able to know those that have contracted this disease. We must also be able to know how to get them treated, as quickly as possible, because if you cannot provide things like ventilators, all these PPEs that we talk about, that is for those who are going to take care of the patients, then we are not out of the woods yet, because we are talking about a situation where we are thinking that it will not go beyond what we have now. If you ask people to lock down, you are saying after 2 weeks, everything will be okay. That's not the issue. The trend we are seeing is different, which means that after 2 weeks, we don't know yet what is going to happen. So that's why I'm saying government should not rest on their oars. They should go beyond what we have as a nation, because stronger economies are crying out. Like if you listen to the governor of New York, you listen to even the president Trump.
Alaji Sani,
he's assembling, the international, the business.
Alaji Sani, apologies to Boting. We need to take our second break on the program. But when we come back, we understand that the contribution and the donation into the relief fund has hit 15 billion naira. We'll discuss more on the policies of government. And for those who reside in Lagos and who are wondering how can they be part of getting the food that the Lagos government is sharing, and how can they go about being part of that process, the special advisor to the governor of Lagos on Agric, Mrs. Olusanya, is still with us here in the studio. Send your questions on our Twitter handle, and we'll get some of them to our. We'll take a break, and when we come back, more on this after now. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us on the program. So we're trying to give as much information on what you need to do to stay safe and keep alive in this very turbulent period around the world. Tonight, I've been speaking with Ms. Bisola Olusanya. She's the special advisor to the governor of Lagos State on agriculture. And from our Abuja studio is Alhaji Yabagi Sani, is the national chairman of the ADP, and Mr. Cletus Obun is a former lawmaker and a chieftain of the APC. Thank you so much for coming on. Before, there are a few questions for you. I will come to you, Ms. Olusoya, on some of the questions that people are asking. People saying they've been calling, but I'll allow you to, let's get the view of Mr. Obun. A lot of people still think that the federal government needs to do more. Some people have criticized the president for not speaking until he spoke on Sunday. The few issues that are being generated on how people can be reached, especially those who live on subsistence basis and who earn day after day. From what has been done so far, are you impressed with what the federal government has done?
Well, to expect that you are going to get perfection in terms of what has just happened and knowing that it is a novel occurrence and some pandemic that has never occurred in the history of mankind. In all our ages, we've never had this before. So for the federal government, I do think that even the harshest critics of this government have come to agree that the response so far, even the address of the president, has been the most presidential address in the history of the man called Buhari. Even his critics have admitted that much. In terms of the physical and practical imperative of dealing with the situation, it is not something you can say, thank you very much, because it is work in progress. Clearly, there is so much to do, but so much has been done. And what has been done is to take the initial steps to ameliorating the situation and then dealing with it. And the response has been so rapid and so fast that I do think that Nigeria is getting ready. But I want to say that even the states that are not yet affected are also getting into the heat of the moment. I just read now the governor of Cross River State releasing 500 million, 20 vehicles, and they're all going on like that. We also have in Abuja the cash transfer immediately coming on just a day or two after the presidential address. And Lagos State, which is at the epicenter of this entire crisis, is demonstrating that it is able. What it did with Ebola is being replicated now. And I'm impressed with the SA on Agric sitting down there with you. She's reeled out exactly what we needed to hear, and that's the kind of hope that we expect to get. But one of the things we also have to do is the cooperation of the citizens. Coming to this studio, you will need to see what is happening on the streets. People are being begged to save themselves from, in fact, even suicide agents are being begged not to commit suicide. So you find Nigerians again and again. I was watching what is happening in Turkey and other places, where the police have to physically beat up people to make them save themselves from each other. And so in Nigeria, I want to beg that we don't even have 1/10 of the capacity of most of these countries, and yet they are still struggling. America of all Americas and Europe of all Europe is still begging. I want to plead that Nigerians must cooperate with this president and with this government and with the government officials, and want to thank especially Lagos State and also the states that are not yet affected for the actions they are taking, the proactive actions they are taking, like I named the case of Cross River State, that these states should come out now and support what the government is doing. Government cannot do everything and reach out to everybody. Most local governments, most states, don't even have the network for you to reach the poorest of the poor. These are the people to be targeted. And I want to, again, emphasize that those states, and even in the federal capital here, there are some satellite towns that cannot be reached. This is where ingenuity, this is where coordination and synergy between the people, especially using places and data such as the polling units, because INEC captured all that. The polling units should be targeted because those ones are located in villages and specific places, and the number of people and the people getting there will get to know. And I think that
Honorable Obun, I want to get your view on the response from Nigerians. The National Assembly, federal lawmakers yesterday said they're giving 100% of their salaries for 2 months. The senators are saying they're giving 50% of their salaries. Yourself and Alhaji Yabagi Sani, give us what you think about the process so far and how Nigerians are responding to some of these issues. We understand that about 15 billion naira has now come into that purse.
Now, let me quickly say this. What the Nigerian parliament has done is unprecedented. No law and no rule obligates them to surrender any part of their income, no matter what it is. No parliament on earth has done that, and I think they should be commended. I was listening to the Speaker of the House of Reps and the spokesperson. I also want to commend Abaribe, the leader of the PDP caucus. His commendation was unusual, was patriotic, and was democratic. And I want to say that what the 15 billion that is out there is what the government had to do. First, convert it into the physical items. For instance, the test kits. That is one of the major areas we are having problems. The volunteers should be into the area of attracting people and doing the test in a manner that will...
Let's get a view of Alhaji Yabagisani on this. Some of the people that are donating and the response of the parliament, what is your view on that, Alhaji Sani?
Well, I think it's commendable, but again, we must also know that this is the only country where we pay our parliaments such a horrendous amount of money for what? I don't know. So if they are giving half of their salaries, they are giving nothing because they've been taking too much from the system. So I commend them, but I want them to do more because Nigerians have been pauperized for too long, and here we are in this pandemic. And the issue is this: it's not only about the donation; it's also about empathy. It's about them going to their villages, going to their constituencies, and then identify with the people as much as possible. I'm not saying they should expose themselves to danger in terms of contracting the disease, but they should show passion. That's why we are also saying that Mr. President should also come out again, not only the speech that he gave. It's okay, I'm satisfied that he gave the speech, but we want him to join the people that give, sometimes they give the status of the situation we are in the country. This is a time that it's a matter of life and death. So Mr. President standing, maybe once in a while, he comes out, he assures the nation that we are on top of this situation. It's very important, that that happens,
All right. Alhaji Yabagisani, we need to close now. Alhaji Yabagisani, the national chairman of the ADP, and Honorable Cletus Obun, chieftain of the APC and a former lawmaker. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming on tonight.
Thank you.
Well, that's our show for today, everyone. The most important thing now is how we can keep safe. If the government say there is lockdown, can we please obey it? And there is anything that you think you can do to help your neighbor, try to do it, please. That's our show. I'm Sean Kimale. Bye-bye.